Guys, do you really think that Nigerian producers can tell our legendary stories in an almost perfect way? I know that there's no perfect movie, but they can actually do it better than what they've been doing. Do you think they can tell it in such a way that it will be entertaining to us, as well as, they don't miss out on the original story that they're trying to pass across? Did they get it right with this particular movie I'm about to review? You're just about to find out. Welcome to another episode of Relufe Review. And this is where we review the Nigerian arts, music, movies, and entertainment in general. Like I always say, anything that you hear me say here is all my personal opinion, all my personal bias. On that note, my name is AY with the double O, and let's get straight to the movie for today. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Lisabi, A Legend is Born. And for those that have not seen Lisabi before, there is an original story, that was released months ago on Netflix as well. Lisabi is produced by Lateef Adedimeji and his wife Bimpe Adedimeji. Was directed by Niyi Akimolayo, and it's on Netflix. So Lisabi, A Legend is Born is sequel to the original Lisabi The Uprising. And what we saw in Lisabi The Uprising was they introduced us to Lisabi, who was able to defeat the Oyo Empire, fight for the people of Egba against the Oyo Empire. And I like that with Lisabi, A Legend is Born, they started from where they stopped. What we saw was Lateef holding the tax collector's head, which was played by Ibrahim Chatta. And I like that introduction, which means, they're continuing from where they stopped. So for Lisabi, A Legend is Born, when I heard the title, what I would have thought they wanted to show us was the story of Lisabi, how he was born, his whole journey, and a lot of revelation. I would have expected more revelation about who Lisabi really is. So for me, I would say that the title doesn't really resonate with what they showed us in the movie. But I'm going to go straight to give like a quick plot of what Lisabi, A Legend is Born is all about. So for Lisabi, A Legend is Born, we saw Lisabi defeat the Oyo Empire with, of course, warriors, and all of that. And at the end of everything, Lisabi became more of a spokesperson, the mouthpiece for the Egba people. And then he started to, I'll say there was a bit of pride along the way for Lisabi. He became ambitious and, of course, surrounded by enemies, people who didn't really love him. He became a victim of the people that he once helped. And of course, towards the end, he died. It was a tragic, demise there. And that was all we saw with Lisabi, A Legend is Born. And the Egba people became leaderless, and I don't know. I don't know what became the fate of the Egba people, to be very honest. But Lisabi died at the end of Lisabi, A Legend is Born. That's the whole story. And there was a bit of betrayal amongst his friends. And at that point, he just got tired and said, okay, I'm going to go back to where I belong, to like the spirit world or the spirit realm, that he'll rather be that person than live with human beings. Which begs the question, was Lisabi really a human being, or was he a spirit? I'm going to go to the highlights for me for this movie, some of the things that I really enjoyed. For the major highlights for me, the first one, I'll say that I like the introduction of, I like how Lisabi, A Legend is Born started. I like that we saw Lisabi defeat the people of Oyo Empire. I like that they introduced us, with the World War scenes and all of that. But I'll say that the war scenes were a bit too stretched. At the point, I had to forward that part because I'm like, what's happening here? They were doing too much with the graphics for the war scenes. And I'll say that they didn't really, need that. But I like that there was, like a proper battle, and I saw Lisabi and his men really did defeat the people of Oyo Empire. Another major highlight in this movie for me would be Keola's question. Keola's character was played by Lateef Adedimeji's wife, Bimpe Adedimeji, and I like that it was at the point where she asked Lisabi, who are you? That was what bettered the scenes where they showed us how Lisabi was born. Bimbo Akintola played the role of Lisabi's mother, and she had to, for some reason, I did not like the subplots. They did not tell us so many answers. Lisabi, A Legend is Born left us with so many questions, more questions than answers. And I don't know if there will be another Lisabi or another, the main character Lisabi here is dead, so I don't think there will be any, Lisabi story to tell. But it would have been better that we get more information, what led to her death, how was she being chased, why was she killed, and all of that, and what powers did she possess for her to have left her child in the arms of like the spirits, like, oh, spirits take care of my child for me and all of that. And they did not also show us at what point how Lisabi grew up. I would have loved to see all of that in LisabiALegendisBorn, but unfortunately we didn't see that in the movie. But the Keola's question was another major highlight for me in that movie. Another major highlight would be the betrayal plot twist. Now that was one subplot that I was really looking forward to seeing. I was looking forward to something, you know, like give me that energy, give me that ginger. And at the point where I saw Olumide Olu, he played the character Bejide, and when I saw betrayal among Lisabi's friends, I mean, it was real, because at that point, Lisabi already was wearing this armor of pride, like, okay, I'm the big thing happening here, and everybody's looking at him like, what's going on? I mean, you're receiving benefits of, you know, the fact that you fought the war against the Oyo Empire, and you didn't do this alone, which is one thing I would say that. So that was a bit different from the Lisabi that we saw in Lisabi the Uprising, because for Lisabi the Uprising, the Lisabi that I know would share things with people, you know, but the Lisabi in A Legend is Born was rather Lisabi filled with pride. So the final highlight for me in this movie would be how the movie just ended. I would not say, for lack of a better word, I would say abruptly, like Lisabi just decided to just go. And I like that towards the end, or at the end, they told us that there is no final, like nobody has the final the final say on what actually happened to Lisabi. Some speculate that this is what happened, and others say, you know, this. So there's no final, okay, this is what exactly happened. And there's nobody that was there during that time to come and tell us that this is how Lisabi actually died, which was why it left the producers to do whatever it is that they like with the end of the movie. And I like how it came out, you know. I like that Lisabi took his own life sort of to go and start living with the spirit. He decided he wasn't ready to be human again. That was another major highlight for me in Lisabi, A Legend is Born. For standout performances, now, unlike the initial Lisabi, The Uprising, I'll say that they were quite, you know, I can count 1,000, you know, like so many standout performances for me, especially with different characters. But some of those characters are late and, of course, did not show in Lisabi, A Legend is Born. Take for instance, Licorice's character, Oshokenu, also played by, you know, Mr. Macaroni, and all of that. Those were characters, and, you know, that also had standout performances in Lisabi, The Uprising. But for Lisabi, A Legend is Born, I'm going to say that the very first, of course, person is the man of the hour himself, Latif's character, Lisabi. Lisabi himself was one standout performance for me. I like how he portrayed, you know, himself. I like how he carried the Egba people along. I like how he was able to defeat the Oyo Empire. It was a major highlight for me in that movie as well, but his performance stood out because, of course, I think it was still the most relatable and, will I say real, for the lack of a better word. And because for other actors, you know, there's a way that the acting of like other actors on set can allow or can make or mar the entire movie. So I'd say that because I could see the flaws of other characters or other actors, it kind of made Latif's character and Latif's performance, you know, stand out for me in Lisabi. Another character for me is Deyemi Okolawon, and he played the role Ironimoja. Now, I would have loved to see more of Deyemi Okolawon. He had very few scenes. I think I saw him in about 2-3 scenes at most in the movie, and I would have thought that he was going to be a major. How would they defeat the whole Ironimoja like that? One thing I did not like was how he was killed. You know, his character was one beautiful performance. I like how he came in. I like how he came in with that fierceness and, you know, all of that energy. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think he died too early. I think that it would have been better to see like more of him before he actually passed. It was just too, how can a whole Ironimoja die like that? You know, I would have preferred to see more of Deyemi Okolawon. Another character for me would be Mobinke's character, Binka Adedimeji, and she played the role Ikeola. A character gave birth to the actual events, to actually seeing who Lisabi was, you know, and all of that. So I think it's because she asked the question from my end. I think it's because she asked the question. But I love her character, and I think that Lisabi would have been bored without Ikeola by the side. Though she did a bit too much with a few scenes where, she was scared that Lisabi was going to war and she was going to meet the gods to ask questions or to say that she's worried. Lisabi has fought one war before. Like, so what is different about this war that is going to fight? And why would she think that, it wasn't going to win the war? Why was she worried? I don't really understand. Why she had to go and look for the witches to help, add more power or strengthen the fight or the war. I still don't understand that part. But I think I like that she was there in the movie, sort of to support Lisabi's character. If it wasn't her, it would have been someone else anyways. I think Lisabi needed support apart from his friends who turned out to be enemies at the end of the day. These characters had amazing performances for me in LisabiALegendisBorn. I'm going to quickly talk about the flaws in the movie. For me, I would say that if it wasn't a sequel, if it was just a story, just a film on its own, I don't think it will receive as much accolades as it is getting, or that it would get, or that I'm even giving it, because it feels like people that have watched Lisabi the Uprising need a closure, sort of. And that is why I would encourage anybody to watch LisabiALegendisBorn, because for the Uprising, they didn't really give us, much details. And of course, for A Legend is Born, a lot of people were looking forward to, okay, we want to see, what's going to happen. So for closure purpose, you should definitely watch LisabiALegendisBorn. But for the flaws in the movie, I want to talk about the weak character development. So many characters were not developed. Talk about even Lisabi himself. It was, but not so well. Talk about Lisabi's mother. Talk about a few other characters, even from Lisabi the Uprising. Some characters were not developed. Now, I'd have loved for them to be developed in LisabiALegendisBorn, but they still did not do that. So there's a weak character development in Lisabi. Another thing here is the poor pacing of the film. Now, for the war scenes, like I said earlier, they were unnecessarily dragged. Some scenes were not even important at all. They were wasting time on some scenes, and I just think that they wanted to buy time with the movie, sort of. I think they could have told all the story that they wanted to tell in Lisabi the Uprising. 1-2 hours is enough to tell the story of Lisabi, how he was born, what led to this, and all of that. In 2 hours, they would have told that story and given us a good movie. But I also think that it's something with Nigerian producers, and when they are telling biopics or telling cultural movies, they want to unnecessarily drag it, and give us something to anticipate, which is not always, a good thing. It doesn't work. What works for A would not work for B. What works for A might not work for B. Take, for instance, Anikolapo. Because it worked for this particular producer, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for that producer. And I'm not saying they are trying to copy, but I think that it's becoming a trend and they should actually stop it. Another flaw for Lisabi is the overuse of slow motion. Now, a lot of slow-mos, especially during this particular war scene, and this was one part of the movie I just had to forward. I did not like what preceded the war. You had showed us Lisabi holding Ibrahim Chatter's head, and he had killed him and conquered the leader of the tax collectors. So why are you showing us the war scene after and unnecessarily dragging to keep us? I think they were trying to keep us on our toes, but I was relaxed. I was seated and I just had to forward that scene because I wasn't enjoying that part. But overall, of course, I get the idea. They needed to tell us who Lisabi really was. They just didn't really particularly do justice to that movie. It could have been better than what it is, but for closure purpose, you should watch it. I think for the acting, I would have preferred that they had more characters who could actually really speak Egba. I think for the acting, and Latif did not, I would not say he didn't pick the right people. I would say that he could have done better or taken his time. I think that Lisabi was rushed. I think the production was rushed. I think they could have had more time to practice, to speak or learn how to actually speak proper Egba well. You don't necessarily have to be Egba to speak Egba, but Egba itself is a very beautiful, the accent, like if you really speak it well, it's a beautiful language, it's Yoruba, but the tone is different. And I didn't really see that with the characters or with the actors in the movie. So for the acting, I like the plot, of course, but I would say that there was no proper plot development. For the plot, the acting, the theme of the movie, and of course the attraction, in the movie, I think I'd give it a good 6/10. For the cinematography, it was a bit okay. The editing was poor. It was poor. It wasn't evenly paced at all. But for the editing, the cinematography, the it factor, and the directing, Miyake Malayo has directed better movies. I would say that I've seen him do great in, you know, some other movies that I've seen him do with Lisabi. But if you also say that Lisabi was directed by, you know, like an A-list director, I would not doubt that fact. But I'll say that there are some flaws and things that also needs to be corrected. Even, of course, you can't go back and correct, you know, what has been done. The movie is out there, but if there's another producer out there looking forward to tell Lisabi, I'm sure that they would tell it, you know, in a better way. But overall, Lisabi from this end gets a 7/10. A 7/10 because I think that for the purpose of closure, people should watch it. For the purpose of closure, especially if you've seen Lisabi the Uprising, LisabiALegendisBorn is something that you should watch for you to understand what really happened, the true events that happened when you know, Lisabi was there and how he was able to help the people of Egba from the umbrella of the Oyo Empire. It's a must-watch movie. You should watch it. More importantly, like I said earlier, if you have seen Lisabi the Uprising, if you have seen LisabiALegendisBorn, what's your take on it? Do you enjoy it? And of course, in comparison with the Uprising, because you can't take a sequel away from the original story, let me know what you think about it in the comment box. And if you have any movie that's new and you want for us to review right here on RelufeTV, let us also know in the comment box. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe across all social media platforms. It is at RelufeTV. Until next time, when I'll be gracing your screens, of course, my name is AY with the double O.